Dr. Gina, please can you?
Good afternoon, esteemed guests, colleagues, and friends. We gather today in Washington, D.C. to discuss Kashmir, a region of breathtaking beauty, cultural heritage, and complex historical challenges. As someone with Mayan heritage and indigenous roots, I approach this topic with a profound understanding of the struggles faced by a marginalized community and other communities worldwide, particularly impacts of othering and intergenerational trauma. To fully grasp the gravity of these issues, we must confront uncomfortable truths about our shared history and personal experiences. Allow me to share a couple of anecdotes from my own life, echoes that echo the struggles faced by the people of Kashmir. Growing up, I often felt like an other. My peers often excluded me, and I had very few friends. Throughout my life, people questioned my identity because of my indigenous heritage. This experience of being othered reflects the collective experience of Kashmiris who have often been viewed as different, separate from those in power. One day in school, a new student named Jonathan joined our class. Shortly after the teacher left the room, two boys began to mock him cruelly. Sitting at the back of the room, something inside me snapped. I stood up, walked to the front of the class, and confronted the bullies. I turned to my silent classmates and demanded, "Why are you all just sitting here? Why am I, the smallest one in this class, the only one brave enough to speak up?" That moment taught me a vital truth. Silence is complicity. Silence is injustice. That was not the only time I spoke up. A good friend of mine named Arthur, one day these same bullies, they started harassing him during recess. My friend was Jewish. They circled him and they mocked his faith, calling him a Christ killer. I feared that someone would hurt him, so I stepped forward and reminded them that Jesus was a compassionate man, a teacher of love, and that if they believed in his message, they wouldn't act this way. I also told them, remember, Jesus was a Jew. My words infuriated them, but they left Arthur alone. Yet the story didn't end there. That afternoon, as I walked home, along the railroad tracks, those same bullies appeared. Furious, they hurled rocks at me. I ran into the woods and escaped, shaken but unharmed. That moment could have silenced me, but it didn't. Instead, it solidified my resolve. I learned that standing up for others sometimes comes at a cost, but that courage is a choice. I chose to speak when others remained silent. That choice became a defining part of who I am. Now consider Kashmir. Like Jonathan and Arthur, Kashmir has been mocked, violated, and excluded, only on a grander and more devastating scale. The international community, much like my classmate, have too often remained silent. Meanwhile, Kashmiris, outnumbered, under siege, continue to speak out against injustice with tremendous courage. But unlike my classroom, where one voice made a difference, Kashmir needs a chorus of voices. It needs all of us to rise, speak, and act. Kashmir is a home to a rich mosaic of communities, each with its own traditions, languages, and lived experiences. From Kashmiri Muslims, who form the majority in the valley, to Kashmiri Pandits, who have long preserved their Hindu heritage despite displacement, to the Gujars and Bakaras, with distinct cultural identities. The region is a tapestry of faiths and ethnicities. Sikhs, Buddhists, and ethnic minorities like the Panaris and Dagmas in Jammu each contribute to the cultural fabric of Kashmir. Empowering Kashmir's future means ensuring that all these communities have a voice, not just in policy, but in healing and reconciliation, and in defining what justice means for them. As Parvini Ahangar, a mother and human rights defender for Kashmir, reminds us, we are not statistics. We are mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters. We are Kashmiris. We are human beings who have the right to ask, where are our loved ones? Her voice echoes the urgency of recognizing not only suffering, but the dignity and humanity of every person in Kashmir. To truly empower, To truly empower diverse religious and ethnic communities in shaping Kashmir's future, we must confront the uncomfortable truth that the language of othering is not just in our behavior, it is embedded in our history. The Declaration of Independence, often celebrated for proclaiming that all men are created equal, also contains language that laid the groundwork for centuries of oppression, referring to the indigenous people as merciless Indian savages. We see the repercussions of this trauma not only in the Americas, but also in Kashmir, where decades of conflict and human rights violations have left a collective trauma that spans generations. This trauma is not just political, it is psychological, it is political, social, and economic, manifesting in limited access to education and shattered families. We cannot ignore the ongoing crisis elsewhere in the world, where civilian lives are lost, families are displaced, and homes are destroyed. These events are a part of a global pattern of othering that must be confronted and dismantled. In Kashmir, generations have endured occupation, surveillance, and suppression of identity at the hands of the very state that claims sovereignty over them. This is not just a bureaucratic failure, it is part of the same global pattern of othering and erasure. Across the world, the thread of othering is tightly woven, yet so is the thread of resilience. The people of Kashmir, like indigenous peoples in the Americas, have survived, resisted, and continued to dream. They have upheld their cultural identity, wisdom, and hope. This approach demands that we listen actively to the voices of all the communities of Kashmir, recognize and respect the cultural and heritage identities within Kashmir, advocate for solutions grounded in human rights, dignity, and self-determination, challenge narratives that dehumanize or oversimplifies the lives of those in Kashmir, acknowledge the reality of intergenerational trauma, and support community-led healing. When we treat any group as other, we invite injustice and plant the seeds of trauma that may last for generations. Yet, in the face of this difficult truth, we also see strength. Indigenous cultures around the world are reviving. In Kashmir, the spirit of resistance and the will to thrive remains unbroken. As we leave the gathering today, I urge you to carry forward both the weight of our shared history and the light of our shared humanity. Let us not be bystanders. Let us be builders of bridges, bearers of truth, and agents of justice. In the face of a Kashmiri child, see your own child. In the hopes of a Kashmiri family, recognize your own family's aspirations. Our commitment to justice must live beyond this room. It must guide our decisions, shape our policies, and inspire our daily interactions. Only with sustained action and deep empathy can we break the cycles of trauma and build a future in which no one is treated as an other. As Lakota activist Leonard Peltier once said, silence, they say, is the voice of complicity, but silence is impossible. Silence screams. Silence is a message, just as doing nothing is an act. This is why we must speak for Kashmir, for the silence and for those who are still demanding to be seen. In front of my peers, I stood up alone. Today, I ask all of us to rise, not just for Kashmir, but for every person and community that has long been othered for too long. Let us be the ones who speak, who refuse to remain silent. Let us transform the legacy of othering into one of understanding. Let us walk together into a future where every human being is seen and heard and celebrated in their full dignity. Until Kashmir is free to define its own future, free from occupation, free from fear, and free to dream, we cannot claim to stand for justice anywhere. Free Kashmir.
Thank you.